Boosting moves have existed since the first games in the Pokemon series. In competitive, boosting up your Pokemon's stats is often your win condition. Many strategies hinge on setting up for one Pokemon to boost itself and destroy the entire enemy team. But not all boosting moves are created equal. Sometimes, Pokemon are blessed with absurdly powerful boosting moves that can be game-breaking and win a game single-handedly in just 1 or 2 turns. Let's explore some of the most notable examples of game-changing boosting moves throughout Pokemon history. But first, an update. It has been revealed by trusted sources that Mikago was victorious in the Battle of the Trident, but nobody knows how he did it. He was up against Horsey, on the receiving end of a frightening bubble beam, which is ×4 super effective. Subscribe to the channel so that we can gather further insight into how exactly Mikago survived this melee and came out on top, and what exactly he plans to do next. Thank you. When you think of an overpowered boosting move, what immediately comes to mind is probably Amnesia from Generation 1. Amnesia simply raises a Pokemon's special stat by 2 stages. Special is a stat that only existed in Generation 1, and it was pretty much special attack and special defense combined into one stat. And this makes Amnesia ridiculously powerful. Since special is basically 2 stats in one, Amnesia is like raising special attack and special defense by 2 stages in a single turn. This is insane, even by modern standards. The most infamous abuser of Amnesia is definitely Mewtwo, the king of Generation 1. Doubling its enormous 154 base special stat makes Mewtwo unstoppable, hitting absurdly hard with Blizzard, Psychic, and all of its other myriad coverage options, and taking nothing from incoming special attacks. If Mewtwo gets the opportunity to set up more than one Amnesia, it is probably going to run away with the game completely. But luckily, Mewtwo is relegated to Gen 1 Ubers. In OU, the most relevant example of an Amnesia user would be Slowbro, who feels a lot more reasonable, since it's slow, as its name suggests, and fairly easy to threaten with Pokemon like Zapdos and other fast threats. If Amnesia was available on something like Alakazam, things might be a bit different. Amnesia can also occasionally be used on Snorlax. Even though Snorlax has a pretty low special stat, it's still powerful enough off the back of Amnesia to turn Snorlax into a special attacking sweeper sometimes, since the Pokemon does get quite a good special attacking move pool. From Gen 2 onwards, Amnesia was changed to only boost your special defense stat, which makes a lot more sense, but in the Gen 1 metagame, it remains one of the best moves possible. In Generation 2, a new boosting move was introduced that probably deserves a shout out on this list, and that is Belly Drum, a move that is able to maximize a Pokemon's attack stats. A Pokemon can have a maximum of 6 positive stat changes at a time, so Belly Drum grants you the maximum of +6 attack when used. But this comes at a significant cost. Using Belly Drum requires you to halve your Pokemon's health. For this reason, it is pretty hard to pull off a successful Belly Drum, since you're probably going to faint to the incoming hit, or 2 hits after using it. Belly Drum does not grant you any speed, so you really need to hope that you're living or outrunning whatever you're up against, after you've committed to gutting your Pokemon's lifespan to such an extent. In the Gen 2 metagame, Belly Drum is occasionally seen on Pokemon like Quagsire, who can pull this off in certain situations, thanks to its useful resistances and immunities from its water-ground typing. And when you do pull off a good Belly Drum, it is pretty much game over. Belly Drum once had a game-breaking application in Generation 3 OU in a previous rule set. Smeargle could use the combination of Spore, Substitute, Belly Drum, and a Salac Berry, maximizing its attack and granting a speed boost as well, which you sorely need. Smeargle could then baton pass to a powerful teammate like Metacham or Metagross and just win instantly. This game-breaking concept led to new rule set changes surrounding Baton Pass that have gotten quite complicated over the years. But the Belly Drum Salakberry combo has been used in other contexts too. Pokemon such as Charizard can use this, and it can make for a pretty convincing win condition if you pull it off. It does require a lot of setup though. You have to clear the weather so that you don't fall to sandstorm chip damage, and you need to find multiple free turns to actually use Substitute and then Belly Drum. Azumarill is a famous Belly Drum user and probably the best one in Pokemon history. From Gen 6 onwards, it is pretty good at finding that turn to Belly Drum thanks to its new Fairy typing, which grants a lot of useful immunities and resistances. And it has Aqua Jet to completely sidestep the issue of having low speed. While Belly Drum is not as powerful as many other boosts on this list, it has had a game-breaking potential here and there, and in the right circumstance, it can just end a game on the spot. In the Gen 5 games, multiple game-breaking boosting moves were introduced to the series. This is the generation collection of powerful boosting moves. The most infamous of these was Quiver Dance, a move that grants +1 special attack, special defense, and speed, a boost to 3 stats at once. Calm Mind is already an extremely powerful and prominent boosting move in competitive, and that only raises special attack and special defense. But speed is what really allows you to sweep games. Boosting your offensive and defensive stats, as well as speed all in one, is a true recipe for snowballing out of control and running away with games. Most Pokemon with access to this move are frankly pretty terrible, like Venomoth and Beautifly, but Volcarona is the premier Quiver Dance user, and despite its glaring ×4 rock weakness, its solid stats, good offensive move pool, and access to that ever-valuable Quiver Dance were enough for this powerful moth to be one of the most frightening offensive threats from Gen 5 onwards. Quiver Dance Volcarona is probably the most infamous boost sweeper in competitive Pokemon history, and in Generation 9 it is actually banned from OU due to how powerful it is with the new Terrastalize mechanic and the new item Heavy Duty Boots. Whatever weaknesses it did have are completely sidestepped by these two new mechanics. Another incredibly powerful new boosting move in Generation 5 was Shell Smash. Shell Smash raises a Pokemon's attack, special attack, and speed by 2 stages. That is a lot of stats. It does have the drawback of lowering defense and special defense by 1, but that is a very small price to pay. The prime abuser of this move in the Gen 5 metagame has been Cloyster, and this is one boosting move that can literally win you a game on the spot in a single turn. The amount of damage output you can achieve in just 1 turn of setup is ludicrous with this move. And the fact that it boosts both special attack and physical attack also limits counterplay because you can run mixed attacking options and threaten both sides of the defensive spectrum. Cloyster was banned to Ubers in Gen 5 OU for this reason. Pretty recently actually, after years and years of wreaking havoc thanks to Shell Smash. Of all the boosting moves on this list, I think Shell Smash is the single move that can turn an otherwise unremarkable Pokemon into a potential game-ending threat. When Torterra gained Shell Smash in Generation 9, it turned from a nothing Pokemon into an actual usable threat, somewhat. It's not OU viable or anything, but Shell Smash significantly enhanced its viability. The most common modern Pokemon that you see use Shell Smash competitively would probably be Poltegeist, who can take advantage of this on Psychic Terrain teams and abuse stored power with the Psychic Terrain boost for a huge damage output. Psychic Terrain also helps by shielding you from incoming priority moves, which could actually stop your sweep. And Gen 5 also buffed a boosting move from a previous game, making it even more powerful. Tail Glow. Now Tail Glow grants +3 special attack instead of +2. Distribution of Tail Glow is extremely limited, and the most noteworthy abuser of it would be Manaphy. Nasty Plot is already used on fast offensive threats to end games, but Tail Glow is even stronger and can let Manaphy achieve ridiculous damage output. Gen 5 also introduced the new move Shift Gear, which is directly superior to Dragon Dance, raising your speed by 2 and attack by 1. Luckily, the distribution of this move is extremely limited, but the potential is certainly there. If this is given to any half-decent physical attacker, it could be a serious problem. In Gen 5, only Kling Clang can learn this move, and Kling Clang is not particularly powerful or disruptive. The most noteworthy user of Shift Gear historically is probably Magearna from Gen 7. Magearna mostly uses Shift Gear for the speed, since it is equal to Agility or Rock Polish in its speed boost, which many Pokemon just use to sweep games anyway. Most Shift Gear Magearna sets just use all special attacks, since Magearna is not a great physical attacker, but some can use Iron Head for mixed coverage, and with the Shift Gear boost this can help to break through fairy types and anything else that might be a bit weaker on the physical defense side. There are other examples of very powerful boost moves in a vacuum that haven't had too much practical application as of yet. Take Heart will raise special attack and special defense by 1 stage, on top of curing your status ailments. A lot of value in a single move, but the Take Heart Manaphy sets that once abused this have fallen out of fashion a bit. Clangorous Soul is Como-O's signature boosting move, granting +1 to all stats at the cost of 33% of your health. A concept that sounds incredible, but isn't great in practice. a bit too slow to ramp up, and that health drawback does add up too. And there's also Victory Dance, a physical equivalent to Quiver Dance, raising attack, defense, and speed by 1. On the right Pokemon, this could also be game breaking, but the most noteworthy user so far is the rather underwhelming Hisuian Lilligant. Another contender for most powerful boosting move of all time, Geomancy, the signature move of Xerneas. Geomancy takes 2 turns to activate. It requires a turn of charging, but once the charging is finished, you will raise your special attack, special defense, and speed by 2 stages each. While the charging drawback is very bad, there is a way to just completely bypass it with the Power Herb item. Power Herb is a consumable item that will allow your 2-turn charging moves to activate in 1 turn a single time in a battle. And spending your item slot on this is a very small price to pay for access to this absurdly strong boost. Most boost sweepers only use their big boost once anyway, because after they use it, they're trying to end the game. Usually Pokemon with absurdly powerful boosting moves are at least limited in some way or have glaring flaws to exploit, but that is not really true of Xerneas. This Pokemon is fantastic in every department, with great typing, stats, and move pool. In any format where Geomancy Xerneas is present, it is the scariest sweeper in the game that every team needs some sort of plan against. And even if you do have a plan against it, you're not always completely safe. So which of these boosting moves is the most powerful? I think it would have to be between Gen 1 Amnesia, Shell Smash, or Geomancy. While Gen 1 Amnesia is ridiculous, in practice it doesn't feel as game-breaking as some of these other ones. In Gen 1 Ubers, both players will have a Mewtwo, and Mewtwo can easily be stopped by Chansey Thunder Wave and other mechanics. Between Shell Smash and Geomancy, it is really close. Shell Smash, while it has the drawback of lowering defense, does not require an item slot, so you don't need to run Power Herb, and you can use something like Lumberry for an extra turn against status moves, or an offensive item like Life Orb to further increase your odds to sweep. The thing about Amnesia and Geomancy is that they are so meta-defining that every team needs a response to them. So in practice, when you're playing the formats where they are present, they don't feel game-breaking because there's always an answer for it on your team. It's a central thing you need to prepare for. But Shell Smash kind of defies this. The counterplay to it doesn't even feel that strong, especially with Cloyster in Gen 5OU, who can run special attacks as a response to physical checks and power through would-be checks with sheer damage output. So my pick for the most powerful boosting move in Pokemon is Shell Smash. This is all you need in a boosting move: speed and offense. The defenses don't matter as much when you're just trying to end a game. And you always have the option of White Herb if you want to patch up that particular weakness. White Herb will remove the defensive stat drops applied by Shell Smash. Imagine if something like Heatran could choose between gaining Gen 1 Amnesia, Shell Smash, or Geomancy. I think Shell Smash might be the best option for it. But what do you think, folks? What is the most powerful boosting move in Pokemon history? Let me know down below in the comments, and thank you for watching.